Welcome everybody. I've got some really nice buffs and changes to cover once again for Sceptile. Sceptile did not get anything super significant. I mean, obviously I've been going through and changing all the level up move levels and, a couple of small stat tweaks here and there from the from the previous uploads for these guys. But the main reason I'm recording Sceptile is because his older video was kind of long, and there have been a few changes to like Ruthless moves since then, and I don't know, I just feel like he needed a little bit of a quicker, shorter, more concise video. Speaking of quicker, shorter, and more concise, let me get into it. If you are a new viewer here and are just clicking on this for the first time, first of all, welcome. Second of all, I highly encourage you to check out the link in the description. It's the same Google Sheet I'm sharing on screen right now, and if you check out all these useful tabs on the bottom of the Google Sheet, you can check out the move, buff, and changes sheet. It's called Search All Moves here, and it's super important to understand how every single Pokemon functions now. So you can click these little links and it'll take you to the different sections of the move sheet, or honestly you can just scroll like this, like I'm doing right now, and just read them, or you can control plus F when you're looking for specific moves. So that's a super useful thing. And of course there's a bunch of other useful tabs on the Google Sheet as well, like type chart stuff and new abilities and all that stuff. Speaking of new abilities, Sceptile has technically two new abilities for both the Mega and the non-Mega. The base form has Ruthless, which is an incredible ability that functions like Sniper, and it will give him a 50% boost to tons of moves. So essentially, if you hold a scope lens, your Sceptile can always crit the moves Leaf Blade, Dragon Claw, and then coverage moves like Cross Chop and Night Slash and Laceration and X Scissor and all these other moves. So he has tons of great coverage moves there, and then of course Leaf Blade and Dragon Claw for stab, and those with a scope lens will go from 70 base power to 157 base power, and he's now a physical attacker, or rather a mixed attacker, which he always should have been. I think we all can agree on that. It's kind of weird that like even Mega Sceptile didn't remedy that. Gen 3 you can give it a pass, like, oh, it's because grass was special, but I don't know why they didn't make Mega Sceptile more physical. So yeah, also the Grass Dragon typing, it makes just as much sense on the base form as it does on the Mega, so I don't think there's anything weird there. It's fine as a pure Grass type, but it just helps him stand out more from other Pokemon, and gives him that nice dual stab and some new resistances and all that. So that's awesome for Ruthless. And then the Mega Ruthless becomes Instinct, which is essentially Download, which is very powerful for a fast mixed attacker like this. He is, there's, first of all, in this ROM hack, there are dozens and dozens of new priority moves of every single type. So this goes for literally any fast offensive Pokemon. They're all like significantly less overbearing because of that. Not just for you to deal with as the player, and for you to deal with as a player, you can always just slap a Choice Scarf on your Pokemon too. You've got the buffed Quick Claw, so there's even more counterplay. But as for the AI using it against you, it's not, or rather, sorry, you using it against the AI, it's nothing too crazy at all. Strong priority moves, especially First Impression, will easily check Mega Sceptile. There's dozens of priority moves running around, and also like there's way stronger Pokemon in this hack. It's a pretty crazy hack. So yeah, if this is your first impression, I highly recommend you do give the other ones a look. Speaking of first impression, that's another Ruthless boosted option. So essentially in this ROM hack, every single Pokemon is balanced to have two useful abilities with an infinite use ability capsule. So for some boss fights you'd use Ruthless, for other ones you'd use Grassy Surge. Grassy Surge gives an identical boost to Ruthless, however it boosts all your grass moves, so not only is that good for special Sceptile sets because he still has a good special attack stat. Keep in mind in this ROM hack, not only do you have those infinite usability capsules, you also have instant EV training. So essentially you can run a max special attack set for one boss fight, and then for the very next one you can reset your EVs and run a physical attacking set, and you can teach some TMs or whatever you want to do. So that's really fun. But for Ruthless, you've got, of course, all those 50% crit moves, and then as for guaranteed crit moves, you've got First Impression via TM. That's a very nice, just strong priority move that you can teach whenever you need it, to kill a specific Pokemon. You've got Pursuit, which you learn as Grovyle, which is pretty cool if you do want to keep that up until Sceptile. It's weaker than Night Slash, but you can hold an item, versus with Night Slash you have to hold Scope Lens for it to be consistent. Finishing Blow gives you plus 2 attack, and it's almost 80 base power. It gives you plus 2 attack if you knock out the opponent with it. It's from Fellstinger, if that's not obvious. And then the really cool ones for Sceptile are Solar Beam and Solar Blade. I love them. Those were newly added. Also, Pursuit was newly added as another, crit move. Solar Beam and Solar Blade are awesome. They're 202.5 base power, so you can just use raw Power Herb Solar Blade, or you can use them in the Sun. Sun is buffed in a lot of different ways. The Heat Rock now extends by 6 turns, so you don't even need a Sunsetter on your team anymore. So, for example, if you're doing a Team Lock Nuzlocke, you can just, teach Sunny Day to one of your dozens of Pokemon that will probably learn it, and then teach it, use one of the switch moves, which again, pretty much every single Pokemon in the game gets a switch move in this hack, at least one of the 3 switch moves. You can use that and go into your Sceptile and abuse Ruthless Boosted Solar Blade and Solar Beam. Not to mention, Solar Blade and Solar Beam critting will ignore stat drops. So for example, well, first of all, crit moves in general ignore Intimidate, which is a very common ability in this hack, and they ignore stuff like Parting Shot, attack drops, and a million other useful additional effects, while Solar Beam will also ignore the special attack drop from Draco Meteor, so that's super strong. Grassy Surge, like I said, very, very powerful. It also has the additional benefit of supporting your allies. It will heal your entire team. It will boost, like I said, all your grass type moves by 50%, including allies. It will activate the Grassy Guard ability if you have any Pokemon with that, which is a pretty semi-common ability, a very strong one. You can check out what that does on the Google Sheet. That's super fun. So in general, you can just switch between Rootless and Grassy Guard depending on the situation. A really awesome thing that Mega Sceptile can do, though, is it uses Grassy Surge into Solar Power, making its Solar Beam an absolute ridiculous nuke in the sun. It's honestly like probably overkill in a lot of cases, but it is absurdly powerful. Grassy Surge boosted, Solar Power boosted, in the sun. It's pretty crazy. And then you have Weather Ball, and you've got, Earth Power and all these other good special moves that you can abuse. Of course, your Dragon Stab. Draco Meteor, for example, would be Solar Power boosted, and then it would be Solar Power boosted, and then would ignore your special attack drop from Solar Beam would ignore your special attack drop from Draco Meteor. So that's a very good thing for like special Mega Sceptile. It makes special sets worth using. Although honestly, he is a pure mixed attacker. His stats are very well rounded in terms of like being equal to one another. There are faster Pokemon in this hack. First impressions everywhere. What else is there to mention for Mega Sceptile? Because I know people are going to look at this like in out of context or like in a vacuum, and they'll be like, oh my god, like this is so broken. It's really not. It's just another strong Pokemon. I was gonna say, you're not guaranteed a plus speed nature or max speed IVs. So the AI with a base 120 speed Pokemon will probably outspeed your Mega Sceptile in most cases, unless you got lucky and got a plus speed nature or really good speed IVs, which, like I said, the odds are not in your favor in that case to get both. Even with the plus speed nature, you will still probably get outsped by like 130-ish speed Pokemon if your IVs are underwhelming. So he is incredibly fast still, so even with max speed investment, you'll still outspeed most things, but not as much as you might assume by looking at his base speed. Same for base Sceptile, of course, but base Sceptile also has the advantage for certain boss fights. You can run Choice Scarf if you absolutely need it to outspeed something with that Grassy Surge boosted, moves. He has all types of powerful, high base power stabs and great setup moves that he can abuse now. But setup moves in general, especially in a hardcore Nuzlocke, are a lot less viable in this ROM hack, especially on a frail guy like this, because you can still do it. You just need a lot of strategy. You would need like a specific held item and specific conditions to be met to be able to get a sweep. Most likely, you'd probably only get a few kills, and then you'd be revenge killed by the AI with one of their moves, like First Impression, or something that's faster than you, or Focus Sash, or whatever it is. Grovyle and Trico both have Technician, which is a really cool fitting ability. The reason Sceptile doesn't keep it is just because he doesn't have that many great options for it, sadly. He would have Priority and Bullet Seed, but it's not like Ruthless and Grassy Surge are just better. So that's why he does lose his Technician. But for Grovyle, it's very cool for the early game. You have tons of powerful moves. You got all your priority moves, Leaf Flurry, Seed Shot, Draco Jet even, but it's not stab. Mega Drain becomes 90 base power and heals you by 75% HP, which is super sick. Razor Leaf, 90 base power. Air Cutter, 90 base power. Bullet Seed at level 31, which is pretty early. You'll have that in time for Olivia, so that's all really fun. And Grovyle's also super fast and pretty damn strong, so that's awesome. As a whole, it's very simple. Like he's pretty much all hyper offensive. He has limited defensive utility. He doesn't have zero. He still has stuff like Parting Shot. He still has, 4 times resist to Electric, and a couple other nice resistances that comes with being a Grass and Dragon type. Yes, he has a good amount of weaknesses, but I've covered this in other videos in a ROM hack, especially when you're fighting AI and it's easy to just pivot around on moves that they're going to use. It's really nice to have resistances, even if you have weaknesses as well. So as a whole, he's just got great coverage moves that you can see on screen. You can check out what all these do in the description below, because I don't have time to get into every single one. Grassy Surge also has more utility I didn't mention earlier, in the form of overriding other terrain, which is a very useful thing for this hack, because there's about a dozen or so Pokemon with the terrain abilities. So if you need to override it on the opponent's side, for example, like, you're fighting Faba and he has a Psychic Surge team, okay, then go ahead and slap on Grassy Surge if you need to override it, even though maybe a Ruthless boosted Wicked Blow might be tempting, to kill his psychic types or whatever. I'm just speaking hypothetically. I don't know exactly what all the boss trainers are going to have yet. That will be for later on in development. But that's just hypothetical. And then that Grassy Surge into Solar Power is absolutely absurdly strong. So that's super fun to use for sure. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll be back. And last thing, I'm like overselling Grassy Surge into Solar Power. Obviously, Instinct is still like download. It's still incredible. You're still super fast and strong. So both abilities are great. That's kind of why I had Grassy Surge lead into Solar Power. So it's situationally stronger than Instinct. But of course, Instinct is the immediate just pivot, switch in, U-turn, parting shot, whatever it is. Go crazy with that. So as a whole, Sceptile's the GOAT. Super sick buffs overall for him. Thank you so much for listening. Oh, I didn't mention a couple other Ruthless options actually. Stone Edge, that always crits. Wicked Blow, always crits. Those are both the same power. Those are both 180 base power with Ruthless, so that's pretty cool. Solar Blade, Solar Beam, Stone Edge, Wicked Blow, Razor Wind could be pretty good. Focus Punch via Tutor, Jesus, excuse me, is super awesome. Focus Punch will be 270 base power with Ruthless boost, so it's an absolute nuke of a move, and you can use that with Substitute, even with Leech Seed if you wanted to, but it's kind of situational. But yeah, like Substitute, Focus Punch, pretty good on Sceptile. So with Ruthless. So yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I'll be back for more coming up. Peace.